I embarrassed my stepmom at dinner after she tried to teach me a lesson about my real mom. So, my stepmom Karen thinks she's some kind of parenting genius. She married my dad when I was 12 and immediately decided she knew everything about raising kids. My real mom died when I was 8, and Karen acts like that gives her permission to say whatever she wants about her. Last Friday, my dad was working late, so it was just me, Karen, and my little stepsister Emma at dinner. We were eating these sad frozen chicken nuggets because Karen can't cook to save her life. And out of nowhere, she starts going off about how I need to move on from my mom. She literally said, "Your mother has been gone for 5 years now. It's time to stop using her as an excuse for your attitude." I was just sitting there eating my nuggets, minding my own business when she dropped that bomb. Then she goes, "You know, if your real mom was such a great parent, maybe she would have taught you better manners." Emma was just sitting there staring at her food, clearly uncomfortable as hell. I asked what she meant by that, trying to stay calm. Karen smirked and said, "Well, a good mother would have made sure her daughter knew how to be respectful to the woman who stepped up to raise her." That's when I completely lost it. But instead of screaming or crying like she probably expected, I smiled real sweet and said, "You're absolutely right, Karen. My mom did teach me manners. She taught me to always tell the truth." Karen looked confused, so I kept going. Like how she taught me that real moms don't steal money from their stepdaughter's college fund to buy designer purses. Karen's face went white as a sheet. And real moms don't tell their husband that his dead wife was probably a bad mother just because they're jealous of a woman who's been dead for 5 years. Emma's mouth was hanging open at this point. Oh, and my mom definitely would have taught me that good stepmoms don't call their stepdaughters fat behind their dad's back. I pulled out my phone and started scrolling. Actually, I have some great voice recordings of you doing exactly that. Want me to play them for Dad when he gets home? Karen started stuttering, trying to backtrack, but I wasn't done. My mom also taught me that women who really love their families don't cheat on their husbands with their personal trainers. The color completely drained from her face. "What are you talking about?" she whispered. I shrugged and took another bite of my chicken nuggets. "Oh, I saw you making out with Brad in the gym parking lot last week. My mom taught me to pay attention to details like that." Karen jumped up from the table so fast she knocked over her chair. "You little liar. You can't prove any of that." I just smiled and said, "My mom taught me something else too. She taught me that the truth always comes out eventually, especially when Dad gets home and we have our little family meeting." Emma was staring at both of us like we were crazy. Karen was practically shaking, trying to figure out if I was bluffing or not. The best part was I wasn't bluffing about any of it. She stormed out of the dining room and slammed her bedroom door. Emma looked at me and whispered, "Is all that stuff true?" I nodded and she said, "Holy crap, my mom is screwed." When Dad got home an hour later, Karen was locked in their room with a headache. I showed him the recordings and told him about the trainer. He just sat there for the longest time, not saying anything. The next morning, Karen was suddenly super nice to me, making my favorite breakfast and asking about school, but it was too late. Dad had already called a lawyer. She moved out last week, and honestly, the house feels so much lighter without her negative energy everywhere. When Karen finally moved out, the house felt weirdly quiet at first. No fake perfume cloud in the hallway, no forced family dinners that felt like hostage negotiations. Just peace. After Karen moved out, the house didn't just feel quieter, it felt alive again. The air wasn't thick with tension anymore, and even the walls seemed to breathe differently. For the first time in years, I could walk into the kitchen without feeling like I was walking into an argument waiting to happen. Dad was silent for a long time after everything happened. He went through this phase where he tried to act like nothing was wrong, like he could fix everything just by ignoring it. But you could tell he was broken inside. Every night he'd sit at the dining table with his laptop open and a glass of whiskey untouched, staring at the screen but not really seeing it. Sometimes I'd catch him glancing at the empty chair where Karen used to sit, like he couldn't believe she was actually gone. Emma took it the hardest. She'd still set out 3 plates at dinner, and I'd have to quietly take one away. One night she asked if it was her fault, if maybe Karen left because she didn't try hard enough to make her happy. I pulled her into a hug and told her something my real mom used to say. You can't make someone love you the right way if they don't know how to love in the first place. A week later, Karen started calling. First, it was just to check on Emma. Then, the messages got weirder. Little guilt trips like, I hope your dad's doing okay without me. Or, you'll regret pushing me out someday. Dad blocked her after that. But she still sent letters, each one dripping with manipulation. One day, I found an envelope with my name on it in the mailbox. It wasn't even sealed properly. Inside was a photo of me and my mom from when I was little, one I hadn't seen in years. On the back, Karen had written, "You can't erase me. I'll always be part of this family, whether you like it or not." That sent chills down my spine. I didn't tell Dad, not because I wanted to hide it, but because I knew he'd lose it completely. Instead, I took the picture, burned the note, and kept the photo. Karen didn't deserve to taint that memory. Life slowly started finding a rhythm again. Dad and I began cooking together. Real food this time, not frozen nuggets. He even started teaching me some of Mom's old recipes, the ones she used to write down in her tiny blue notebook. For the first time, the kitchen smelled like home again. Emma started smiling more too. She joined art club, made new friends, and stopped asking about Karen every night. Sometimes I'd catch her humming while she painted, something she hadn't done since before the fight started. One night, Dad came into my room holding a small wooden box. He said he found it in the attic. Inside were old photos of Mom, birthday cards, and a letter she'd written before she died. The last line read, "When I'm gone, remind her that strength doesn't always mean silence." Dad looked at me, his eyes glassy. "You did that," he said. "You reminded me too." That was the night I finally stopped feeling guilty for what I said to Karen. She wanted to teach me a lesson, and she did. She taught me that standing up for yourself isn't disrespect. It's survival. A month later, Dad finalized the divorce. Karen tried to play innocent, crying in court, pretending to be the victim. But the evidence, the recordings, the financial records, even the affair, left no room for lies. When the judge ruled in Dad's favor, she glared at me across the room. But I just smiled. After that, she was gone for good. Now every evening, I sit with Dad and Emma on the porch. The sun sets behind the trees, painting the sky the same color my mom loved, orange fading into gold. We don't talk much. We don't need to. The silence feels peaceful now, not heavy, and sometimes, when the wind passes through the trees just right, I swear I can hear my mom's voice, soft, proud, and free. Story 2 For 13 years of marriage, I believed I had a family. But it all turned out to be a lie. One day, I found her scarf, someone else's cologne, red lipstick. My heart sank. I tried to convince myself that I was wrong. But then I picked up her phone. A message flashed on the screen. "Yesterday was perfect. When are you going to tell him?" I read the correspondence, and every word hit me harder than a punch. The poor guy still thinks it's just a crisis. Chapter 1, just a crisis. She said, "For 13 years, I believed in the story we built together. I was the husband who showed up. Every time from painting the nursery when she was pregnant to staying up all night when our daughter had a fever, I was there. Vacations, anniversaries, birthdays, always carefully planned, always centered around her happiness. And yet something had changed. It started subtly. A scarf on the kitchen counter that I'd never seen before, faintly scented with an expensive cologne I didn't wear. A smudge of red lipstick on the inside of her coffee mug, even though she swore she'd stopped using makeup because of her new skin routine. A text from her one night working late. Don't wait up, except I'd called her office and the cleaning lady said everyone had left hours ago. I tried to reason with myself. It's probably just a phase, a marriage lull. We've had a tough year. She had lost interest in family dinners, forgot our anniversary, and yet somehow remembered to wax, shave, and wear new lingerie that she insisted was just for confidence. And still I remained loyal. Then one night while she was in the shower, her phone buzzed on the nightstand. I don't usually snoop. I respect privacy, but the name that flashed across the screen, Mitch Wine, was not one I recognized. Curiosity tugged at me. Heart pounding, I picked it up. The message read, "Yesterday was perfect. When are you going to tell him?" I froze. I opened the message thread. My hands were shaking, but I couldn't stop reading. Lines and lines of flirtation, photos, explicit promises. One message stuck with me like a knife to the gut. The poor guy still thinks it's just a crisis. I sat down on the edge of the bed and stared at the floor. The woman I'd built a life with was talking about me like I was a joke. She came out of the bathroom a few minutes later, towel wrapped around her, humming as if nothing had happened. I looked up at her and asked softly, "Hey, is everything okay with us?" She smiled gently. "You're just stressed, babe. It's just a phase. We're fine. Just a little crisis, but it wasn't, and I wasn't fine anymore." That night, as she slept beside me, I stared at the ceiling for hours. I'd been gaslit, mocked, lied to, and something inside me quietly snapped. I wasn't going to confront her in a dramatic explosion. No yelling, no begging. Instead, I'd become silent, watchful, strategic, because if she thought I was the fool in this story, she hadn't seen anything yet. Chapter 2. The messages I didn't want to see but had to read. Sleep never came that night. I waited until she left the next morning. Said she had brunch plans with Jenna from Pilates. She even kissed me on the cheek like everything was normal. The moment the front door shut, I reached for her phone again. I'd seen just a glimpse of the messages last night, but now I needed to know everything. I unlocked the screen with her birthday. The message thread with Mitch Wineglass was worse than I imagined. He wasn't just some passing fling. He was the main event. They had a nickname for me, the donor. Let the donor handle the bills. I'll handle you, sweetheart. Poor guy still buys you flowers. What is this, 2005? You moaned louder last night than you probably have in a decade. You're wasted on him. And she replied, I know, babe. I'm just waiting for the right moment to tell him. I need a clean exit. He's still useful for now. Useful, like a wrench in the garage, like an umbrella on a rainy day. I wasn't a husband to her. I was a convenience, a wallet, a placeholder. I scrolled further back. Months of messages, even photos, some explicit hotel room selfies, pictures of the wine I paid for, of gifts she claimed were work bonuses, but were clearly from him. Worse still, she sent him photos of our daughter with captions like, the donor's picking her up today. Thank God. Gives me time to see you. She had reduced my relationship with my own child to a time slot, a chore. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just sat still, the screen glowing in my palm, rage rising like smoke under my skin. That evening when she returned, I smiled. I asked how brunch was. She said, great. Without a blink, I knew then confronting her now would do nothing. She'd lie, deny, flip the script, maybe even blame me. No. If she wanted a clean exit, I'd give her one, but not the one she was expecting. She didn't know I had quietly opened a second bank account. She didn't know I had scanned every important document in our filing cabinet. She didn't know I'd already spoken to a lawyer. And the lawyer had already started a forensic audit on our finances. I wasn't going to react. I was going to plan. And when it was all done, when the stage was set, I'd make sure Mitch Wine and his little stolen fantasy got exactly what they deserved. Chapter 3. The day I pretended not to know and planted the first trap. The hardest part wasn't what I read on her phone. It wasn't even the mental images that followed me like ghosts through every room of our house. Number hardest part was pretending. Pretending I didn't know my wife had erased me emotionally. Pretending I didn't know some smug, color-drenched parasite was laughing at me behind my back. Pretending I didn't want to scream at her every time she smiled like nothing had changed. But I had to stay calm because while she played games behind my back, I had started my own. That Monday, I forgot to transfer money into our joint account. She noticed by lunchtime. Hey babe, she texted groceries bounced LOL. Can you fix? I replied, sorry love, must be a bank issue. I'll look into it tonight, lie. It was working perfectly. By that evening, I had already rerouted my paycheck into the new private account I opened under a trust name. I was also canceling autopay on anything tied to her gym, her streaming services, her spa membership. Next came the tech. I logged into our family iPad and synced it to her phone's cloud backup. Every text, every video, every hidden photo album, all downloaded. And just in case she ever wiped it clean or denied everything, I had saved copies on 3 encrypted USBs, one in my office, one in my car, and one at a friend's place. Then came the camera. I bought a $30 motion-activated cam and disguised it as a plug-in air freshener, placed it in the living room where she usually took private calls. By the second day, bingo, she was pacing the room, whispering into her phone, "Don't worry, baby, he's completely in the dark. He still thinks I'm just stressed." Honestly, he's pathetic. My hand gripped the desk so tightly the joints popped. But I didn't react because every word she spoke was another brick in the wall I was building. A wall she wouldn't see until it was too late. That weekend, she said she wanted a girl's trip to clear her head. I smiled and encouraged it. Oh, take some cash from the emergency envelope. I said there was no cash in it. I'd replaced it with a printout of a screenshot. One of her texts to Mitch, he's such a loser. I could cheat on him in front of his face and he'd still ask if I want takeout. She didn't mention it when she left, but I know she saw it. Let the anxiety begin. The trap was almost set. But I still needed one final piece: leverage. And I found it in the form of a forgotten email. Buried deep in our shared inbox was a reservation to a luxury cabin retreat 2 months from now. A couple's getaway for 2. But the payment receipt didn't list my name. It listed Mitch. And guess what? The retreat's welcome package included a surprise anniversary photo shoot with a pro photographer. The date matched perfectly with a weekend she told me she was traveling for a corporate workshop. Perfect. She had no idea I knew. She had no idea I was quietly poisoning the roots of the fake life she built. She had no idea I'd already contacted the photographer and arranged something special for their arrival. This wasn't just revenge anymore. It was justice, slow-cooked and silent. All I needed to do now was wait. Chapter 4. Their romantic getaway turned into a living nightmare, and it was all caught on camera. The luxury cabin was nestled deep in the forested hills of Colorado. Secluded, elegant, and Instagram perfect. The kind of place my wife always dreamed of, just not with me. I watched the check-in via the live feed from the discreet GoPro the retreat's photographer had agreed to wear. $1,000 well spent for a front row seat to the beginning of their end. They arrived hand in hand. My wife in a tight dress that was clearly not for hiking. Mitch in a designer jacket he probably borrowed or stole. The photographer greeted them warmly, pretending to be part of the special anniversary experience. Little did they know, he had strict instructions to record everything and ask one simple question. So, how long have you two been celebrating your anniversary together? My wife answered first, laughing sweetly. This is our 2nd year, but it's always felt like forever, Mitch added. Yeah, long enough that the past is just, well, the past. The irony that past was watching from 200 men-hours away, sipping coffee and waiting for their downfall to go viral. That evening, while they were enjoying a candlelit dinner provided by the retreat, the second surprise kicked in. The retreat manager arrived at their table holding a folder. Excuse me, Mr. Mitch, we received a new package addressed to you from a guest sponsor. It's complimentary. Inside was a beautifully embossed scrapbook. The title, A Tribute to Hidden Love. The first page, a printed photo of Mitch and my wife embracing overlaid with the text message I found on her phone. The poor guy still thinks it's just a crisis. The next page was a screenshot of their cabin reservation with both their names. The next, a still image from my living room cam. My wife on the phone saying, honestly, he's pathetic. Then a printed bank statement showing the recent withdrawal of $8,000 for couples' getaway expenses. And the final page, a personal note from me. Enjoy your romantic escape. Paid in full by the very man you mocked. You've officially spent your last dollar of mine. Oh, and smile for the camera. You're being filmed. I wish I could have seen their faces, but I got close because the retreat manager sent me a photo of them storming out in fury, faces red, my wife yelling at Mitch while holding the scrapbook. They left early. I didn't even need to chase them. Their shame would do all the running. By the time they got back to the city, my wife's phone was buzzing with alerts, frozen accounts, canceled cards, eviction notice served for the apartment I was paying for behind her back. Even her car lease was suddenly under review because guess whose name it was under? Mine. And Mitch, turns out he didn't even have a driver's license in his name because his real name was Todd Mitchell Langley. A man with a suspended license, 3 warrants, and an ex-wife with a restraining order. That juicy detail. I'd shared it with HR at my wife's job and with hers too, because now that their little secret was out, I was just getting started. Chapter 5. The divorce hearing, where I exposed it all and walked out smiling. The courthouse was buzzing, hallways echoing with murmurs, lawyers shuffling past with stacks of paper, and a few jaded couples sitting apart, preparing to end years of broken promises. I was calm, dressed in a sharp navy suit. I walked in alone. No family, no friends, but I wasn't unarmed. In my briefcase. Everything, printouts, statements, photographs, legal correspondence, and the flash drive with the GoPro footage from their little romantic getaway. My soon-to-be ex-wife sat with her attorney 2 benches away, whispering frantically. Her expression was a mix of fake calm and real panic. Next to her, no one, not even Mitch. Apparently, he'd gone missing again, which made sense. Once I tipped off his probation officer about his out-of-state travel, he likely skipped town. Her lawyer tried to open with sympathy. Your Honor, my client simply wishes for a fair and civil dissolution of this marriage. She believes in privacy and would prefer not to air unnecessary details. I interrupted. Your Honor, if I may. The judge nodded, and I walked up to the bench and handed over a neatly sealed envelope. Inside were a timeline of her affair matched with work trip itineraries, bank statements showing thousands spent from our joint account on Mitch.audio from a call she made to her friend saying he'll never find out. He's two trusting screenshots of her mocking me online, captioning selfies with married on paper but not in spirit. And the final piece, a notarized affidavit from Mitch's real wife. Yes, he was still married too, who'd been searching for him across state lines. The courtroom fell silent. Even the judge arched an eyebrow, flipping through the documents with growing disbelief. My wife's lawyer began sweating bullets, whispering furiously into her ear. She broke right there. Okay, fine. I'll walk away with nothing. Just end it. But the judge wasn't done. He turned to her sharply. Mrs. Langley, you lied under oath about financial misconduct, hid marital assets, and manipulated travel reimbursements. That's not just ending it. That's fraud. Her jaw dropped, and that's when I calmly added, I'm not asking for revenge, Your Honor. Just truth. I don't want spousal support, no division of my business, just what's fair. The final ruling, she got no claim to my company. The apartment was turned over to me since I paid for it. Her jewelry and designer bags, collateral for repayment of misused funds. She was fined for contempt of court due to her behavior in mediation. And Mitch, an arrest warrant was issued that same afternoon. As I exited the courthouse, I finally allowed myself a smile, not out of cruelty, but from closure. My 13-year lie was over, and for once, I wasn't the one left in the dark. Chapter 6. Healing Without Her, and the twist that came from an unexpected letter. In the weeks after the divorce, the silence in the apartment was jarring, not painful, just hollow. No scent of expensive perfumes masking guilt, no forced smiles, no pretending. For the first time in over a decade, I could breathe without second-guessing myself. I rebuilt quietly. I returned to work, not with a vengeance, but with clarity. My clients noticed. One even said, "You seem lighter, like you finally dropped a weight you didn't know you were carrying." And they were right. I started going to the gym again, met with old friends, laughed genuinely for the first time in years, and one afternoon, while reorganizing a drawer filled with her forgotten clutter, I stumbled across a sealed envelope, no name, just my handwriting on the back from years ago. I had written, "For when you need reminding who you are." It was a note I'd written to myself on our first anniversary. Back then, I believed in forever. A few days later, I received a formal letter, not from her, from Mitch's wife. She had gotten my contact through the court records and wanted to thank me for what I did. But there was more. I thought you should know he had another family, a child in Arizona. He's been doing this for years. You weren't the first man he helped ruin. She attached a photo of Mitch at another wedding, holding a different woman's waist. The date stamp read, 18 months before our divorce. It hit me like a final punch. Except this time, it didn't hurt. It confirmed what I'd always suspected deep down. None of this was ever about love. It was always about control, convenience, and keeping up appearances. My ex-wife reached out 3 months later. No apology, just a short message. I made a mistake. I'm alone now. I just wanted to say you were the best thing that ever happened to me. I didn't reply. She had made her choice. She had celebrated her betrayal. She didn't lose me when she cheated. She lost me when she laughed about it. Final reflections. 13 years I thought were built on trust ended in one message on a phone. But what I built after that betrayal, peace, freedom, self-worth, was something I hadn't known I was missing. And now I'm living fully, honestly. Not for someone else, but for me. Was this revenge perfectly justified? Or should the storm have raged harder? Drop your verdict below. I read every single one. Hit like if you crave justice and share this story with someone who needs its fire.